The warning alarm erupted without ceremony, a sharp pulse that split the silence of deep space. Sensors lit up. Something had emerged from a void far beyond the mapped edge of the Orion expanse. The anomaly was moving fast, but not broadcasting anything. No standard identification codes. No response to hails. Just silence and speed. The Valkyrie, a lone human vessel built for deep-range survey missions, wasn't meant for conflict. It wasn't part of a battle group. It wasn't even armed like one. It was a research ship, crewed by a skeleton team of scientists, engineers, and one combat-trained captain who thought his days of war were behind him. This was supposed to be a routine sweep of uncharted sectors, mapping gravitational anomalies and scouting exoplanets for colonization viability. No one expected trouble this far from the core worlds. But space, as always, had its own plans. Captain Alara Rain stood still for half a second, eyes locked on the glowing interface. Unknown object, vectoring in, velocity increasing. She didn't flinch. Instead, she snapped into motion with the calm authority that marked her as more than a researcher. Begin evasive maneuvers. Engage active scanning. I want to know what that is, now. The crew responded instantly. Hands danced across consoles, data flowed, and the onboard AI hummed softly in the background, processing faster than any human could. They were alone. No backup. The nearest human presence was 2 systems away, and even then, it was just a listening post. The Valkyrie was it. One ship, one crew, against whatever was coming. The sensors cracked the silence with a ping. Object identified. Unknown design. No match in the galactic database. Organic curvature. Non-reflective plating. Mass readings inconsistent with anything previously cataloged. No obvious weapon ports. But energy buildup was detected along its outer hull. It was charging something. A weapon. Not friendly, murmured the ship's chief engineer, Dev, his voice grim. There was no reason for anyone to be here. No trade lanes. No colonies. No treaties to fall back on. Whoever. Or whatever. It had appeared with precision, and it was approaching like it knew exactly where to find them. That men had been watching. The realization settled over the crew like a sheet of ice. This was an accident. The Valkyrie hadn't stumbled into unknown territory. It had been hunted. Alara didn't waste time. She authorized Level 3 combat protocols, rerouting emergency power to shields and activating the ship's limited defense systems. Old tech, retrofitted to a scientific vessel. Not built for war, but not helpless either. As the ship prepared for confrontation, Alara allowed herself one moment of stillness. Not fear, never that. Just awareness. They were the frontier. They were the knife's edge of humanity's expansion. And as always, it was humans who stepped where others fear to go. Curious, bold, defiant. A chill flickered across her skin, not from fear, but from something else. The memory of Earth's earliest ventures into the stars. First contact with allies and enemies. Every time, the galaxy had underestimated humanity. Not because of its weapons, but because of its will. The refusal to back down. The instinct to adapt. Now, here they were again. One ship, alone, with an unknown force bearing down. The object closed the gap rapidly, stopping just outside of weapons range. Then silence. No lights. No signals. It hovered, watching, scanning, as if confirming something. The tension on the Valkyrie's bridge became a physical thing, tightening every breath. Alara's voice cut through it. Maintain posture. Do not fire unless fired upon. They waited. Seconds stretched like minutes. Then the enemy moved, not with a shot, with light. A single, focus beam swept across the Valkyrie, piercing its shields like they weren't there. No damage, just intrusion. The ship's systems flickered. Consoles glitched. Lights dimmed. The AI faltered for a heartbeat before recovering. Telemetry breach, said Dev. They're inside our systems. The realization hit hard. The alien ship hadn't just found them. It had been tracking them, studying them, waiting for this moment. The attack wouldn't be physical at first. It was psychological. Strategic, the kind of tactic used against less aggressive species. Species that would panic. But humans weren't known for panic. They were known for pushing back. Ilera gave the order. Purge external data connections. Reinitialize security firewalls. Isolate the mainframe. She barked it without hesitation, the way a soldier might call for a counterstrike. Behind her, the AI confirmed in its calm, neutral tone. Foreign signal contained. Intrusion repelled. The alien ship backed off slightly, just a nudge. But it said everything. It hadn't expected resistance that fast, that precise. Something shifted in that moment. The predator had realized its prey had teeth. Ilera watched the screen and whispered, "You came looking for a soft target. You just found humanity instead." The crew straightened, feeling it too, that change in atmosphere. The unspoken defiance that had carried their ancestors through every challenge, every war, every setback. They weren't armed to the teeth. They weren't a fleet, but they were still human. And that meant something, even in the coldest reaches of space. Even when no one was watching. Especially then, the alien ship paused, like it was considering its next move. It didn't withdraw. It didn't attack again. It lingered, like a shark circling a swimmer. But something was different now. It wasn't charging ahead. It was recalculating. And on the Valkyrie, every crew member knew they had just made first contact. And this time, it was the enemy who would need to adapt. The second strike came without warning. A spear of violet energy ripped through space, slamming into the Valkyrie's forward shields. The hull groaned under the impact, and the ship shuddered as if something enormous had clawed across its skin. Consoles flickered. Systems reeled. The inertial dampeners lagged by milliseconds, just long enough to knock the breath from the crew. Shields down to 60%. The AI reported, devoid of panic. Energy pattern unknown. No match in existing threat matrix. Ilera didn't blink. Reroute auxiliary power to forward deflectors. Begin random vector movement. We're not giving them a stationary target. The ship lunged sideways, vector thrusters firing in sudden bursts. The crew moved like a single machine, no hesitation, no wasted motion. They weren't soldiers, most of them, but they were human, and that meant they were stubborn, creative, and fast learners under pressure. Chief Engineer Dev was already beneath his station, hot-wiring backup conduits to reinforce the deflectors. They're trying to overload our shielding. Frequency modulation suggests an adaptive weapon. It's learning as it hits. Then we stay unpredictable, Ilera replied. Pulse our shield frequency every 4 seconds. Make it work for every inch. Another blast followed, this one missing by a fraction of a degree. It carved open a stretch of empty space where the Valkyrie had been moments before. Whatever this enemy was, it wasn't spraying randomly. It was methodical, each strike more refined than the last. Still no communications, said Terra, the comms officer. No language patterns. No symbols. No attempt at dialogue. Not interested in talking, Dev muttered. They're testing us, seeing what breaks first. He was right. The crew could feel it. The precision, the timing, the way the enemy ship mirrored their maneuvers just enough to keep the pressure constant. It was all clinical. Dissection, not combat. This wasn't a warship in a brawl. It was a scalpel, and the Valkyrie was its specimen. But humans don't dissect easily. They bite back. In the face of that clinical hostility, humanity's response wasn't brute strength. It was improvisation. Systems weren't designed to work this way, but Dev made them. Emergency coolant rerouted through power nodes to buy precious seconds of overclock shielding. Navigation algorithms rewritten on the fly to generate erratic, fractal-based evasive paths. A science vessel turning itself inside out to become a weapon of survival. They fired back, but not to destroy. Not yet. A spread of high-intensity EMP charges launched from the aft bays, set to detonate in a cascading pattern. Not enough to damage something of that scale, but enough to blind it temporarily. It worked. Visual distortion on target confirmed, said Terra. Sensor array interference at 80%. Ilera used the opening. Hard turn. Vector 314, initiate burn. Get us behind that thing. The Valkyrie moved like it had never been meant to, agile, defiant. The enemy ship lagged for the first time, recalibrating. It didn't expect prey to hunt in return. 10 seconds, silence. Then the next volley came. This time the blast curved, like the weapon could think. It anticipated the Valkyrie's new course and met it midstream. Shields dropped to 20%. Power flickered. The lights dimmed. Oxygen pressure dropped slightly before the backups kicked in. Structural integrity holding. The AI confirmed. Dev, hands blackened from an electrical arc, didn't stop working. We got one more surge left in the capacitor bank. Maybe 10 seconds of full shield strength. Elara nodded slowly. That'll have to be enough. They were running out of tricks. No one said it, but everyone knew. The Valkyrie was bleeding resources. The alien vessel had barely moved from its original position, simply pivoting in space, adjusting course, letting its arsenal do the work. But in that moment, the crew saw something. The enemy ship adjusted course again, but this time, not to fire. It turned, subtly, almost like it was withdrawing, not fleeing, but hesitating. That hesitation meant something. They're unsure, Elara said aloud. We've done something they didn't predict. She scanned the readouts. A pattern emerged. Their evasive maneuvers had put them into a strange orbit, aligning gravitational vectors from a nearby star cluster. It shouldn't have mattered, but maybe it did. Dev, what if we reverse our energy field polarity using the stellar magnetic interference? Dev blinked. That's experimental. We'd fry our guidance system. Maybe our NAV core too. Can we do it? He hesitated, then grinned. Yeah, but we'd better make it count. In the next 30 seconds, they did something no automated system could have conceived. They risked total navigation failure for a shot in the dark, a power loop run backward, twisted through a magnetic rift, turned the Valkyrie into something bizarre, unreadable. The ship's signature disappeared. Its output became noise. The alien weapon fired again and missed completely. They've lost target lock, Tara whispered, awed. Elara leaned forward. Good. Let's show them what human noise sounds like. They launched a pulse of broadband interference. Not a weapon, not really. Just signal chaos. Binary gibberish. Shifting languages, fragments of music, old Earth radio waves, coded war chants, even laughter. A message with no translation, only tone. The alien ship recoiled. For the first time, it looked confused. Elara watched the distance widen and said, voice low and cold, You wanted to study us. You wanted to break us. You thought we'd crumble under pressure. But this is what pressure makes. The crew was battered. The ship was bruised. But they were still in control. Still standing. Still fighting. And in that moment, humanity did what it always does. It refused to fall. The alien ship began to back away, its weapons dimming. Whether understood or not, it now recognized the cost of continuing. The Valkyrie had taught it something about unpredictability, defiance, and the danger of thinking humans were just another species to be dissected. The silence returned, but it felt different now. Not empty, heavy, the kind of silence that follows a lesson hard learned. The alien vessel lingered just outside of optimal sensor range now, its once predatory movements stilled. Its weapon systems, while still charged, were no longer aimed directly at the Valkyrie. The moment hung in space like a drawn breath, neither retreat nor renewed assault, but strange, tense evaluation. On the Valkyrie, every crew member watched in absolute stillness. Not from fear, but calculation. For the first time, they weren't reacting. They were reading, learning. The Predator had blinked. Signal activity increasing, Tara reported quietly. Still no recognizable language. But the patterns, they're shifting. Less aggressive, almost erratic. Erratic how? Elara asked, Tara's brow furrowed. Like uncertainty. Or maybe internal conflict. It's broadcasting in loops. The same 3 frequency blocks, cycling every 6 seconds. That's not a command structure. That's a processing loop. It doesn't know what to do next, Dev said, more to himself than anyone. Ilara didn't smile, but something in her posture changed. Firmer, grounded. Good. Let's push the advantage. Wait, Dev said cautiously. Are we trying to talk to it now? Or finish what it started? Ilara paused. That was the question, wasn't it? First contact was always a gamble. But this wasn't first contact anymore. This was war, sparked in silence, fought with ideas, shaped by instinct. And humans? They didn't just survive war. They changed it. Both, she replied finally. We show what we are, and we let it decide if it still wants to press its luck. The crew moved fast. Data packets were compiled. Earth's history, condensed into raw, emotional frequency, triumph and trauma, images of defiance, audio of resistance, video feeds from Terran history, burning cities, rebuilt futures, the face of a child laughing beside one screaming in defiance, not to beg for peace, not to ask for understanding, to dare the alien to try again. The package was transmitted. A full minute passed. Then something extraordinary happened. The alien ship flickered, not just visually, on every sensor band. Light, radiation, even gravity itself rippled for a heartbeat as if the ship itself had flinched. Deb blinked. Is that its shield grid collapsing? No, Tara said slowly. It's retracting, voluntarily. It's disarming itself. The alien ship, once sharp and smooth and cold, shifted, some of its outer panels folding in, its weapon ports sealed. The strange glow that had pulsed within its hull dimmed. It wasn't retreating. It was submitting. Aboard the Valkyrie, silence turned into stunned awe. Holy hell, Dev whispered. It backed down. No, Ilara corrected. It recognized us. They weren't seen as prey anymore. Not anomalies. Not animals to dissect. They had crossed some invisible threshold in the alien's understanding. Whatever matrix it used to assess intelligence, strategy, or strength, humans had exceeded it. Then why is it still here? Tara asked, if it's not going to fight, why hasn't it left? The answer came a second later. Energy surge, the AI reported. Not a weapon. Localized field forming projection. In the heart of the bridge, just above the main console, space shimmered. A shape formed, distorted, flickering, more abstract and solid. The projection wasn't a hologram in the conventional sense. It didn't depict a creature. It depicted ideas. The projection pulsed with rhythm, patterns forming and dissolving, symbols morphing into fractal arrangements, then into shifting light frequencies. Communication through pure concept. It wasn't talking to their ears. It was reaching into their minds. Ilara watched it for 10 seconds and nodded slowly. It's not language. It's behavior modeling. You're telling me that it's explaining itself? Dev asked. No, it's asking us to explain ourselves. A grin finally cracked her expression. Fine, let's tell it who we are. The AI began translating. Not words, concepts. The story of humanity, as told not through facts but through responses. How humans adapt, how they resist, how they create meaning from conflict. It was data born from blood and brilliance alike. The alien ship listened, and then something clicked. A burst of data returned. Faster, sharper, more structured this time. The alien was responding in kind, an exchange, not an interrogation, mutual recognition. Then, out of nowhere, the projection fractured. Lights burst across the Valkyrie sensors. A second vessel emerged from warp, a jagged monstrosity 5 times the size of the first, bristling with weapon arrays. It didn't hesitate. It didn't scan. It fired. The first alien ship was hit squarely, its shield collapsing in a burst of energy. Damage report scrolled instantly. Structural collapse. Power drain. The new arrival wasn't here for dialogue. It was here for termination. They were never alone, Ilara whispered. That one wasn't the hunter. It was the test. The second ship roared toward the Valkyrie. Brace for her. But then, impossibly, the first alien ship moved. Fast. Faster than the human sensors could properly register. It intercepted the second ship's firing arc. placing itself between the oncoming fire and the Valkyrie. The shot landed devastating. The first vessel ruptured in silence, breaking apart in spiraling waves of light. But the Valkyrie was untouched. It had protected them. The crew stood frozen. It sacrificed itself, Dev said, voice low. It learned who we are, and it chose us. The second ship reoriented. Its weapons charged again. This one didn't want understanding. It wanted obedience, or annihilation. But now humanity had seen the truth, and it wasn't alone anymore. There was no time to mourn. The remains of the first alien vessel drifted in a quiet, burning arc, a funeral pyre in orbit. But the second ship didn't pause. No hesitation, no curiosity, only cold, brutal purpose. Weapons charged again. The Valkyrie had seconds. Options, Ilera snapped. None good, Dev growled. Shields at 12%. Main power unstable. We can't outrun it. Can't outgun it. Then we outthink it, she replied. Her voice was level, but her eyes burned with something fierce. Not desperation, resolve. The second ship was different. Bigger. Dumber. It moved like a hammer expecting nails, like the galaxy had never told it no before. Its formation was tight, predictable, arrogant. Terra called out. It's powering a full-array blast. It'll vaporize us in the next volley. Ilera didn't blink. Then we'll give it something bigger to hit. She keyed into the AI. Overlay every gravitational reading from that wreckage. Find me something unstable. The AI ran the calculations in milliseconds. There's a core fragment still active, reactor shielded in fragment E17. Mass unstable. Magnetic resonance increasing due to uncontrolled cooling. Can it blow, she asked. Yes, with proper stimulation. Good. Let's poke it. They launched a pulse of destabilized microwave radiation. Barely enough to be noticed by the enemy. But the core fragment responded immediately, its internal matrix beginning to shudder under the influx. Radiation levels surged. The fragment began spinning wildly, pulled by the nearby star's gravity. The second alien vessel didn't care. It saw only the Valkyrie. The hammer still thought it saw the nail. Wait for it, Ilera whispered. The targeting sensors on the second ship locked in. Its energy grid surged. Now. The Valkyrie jettisoned a flare pod loaded with reflective debris, tuned to emit a signature identical to their own. The pod veered sharply toward the core fragment. The enemy adjusted fire, tracking the signal. The beam struck. The fragment exploded. A cascade of light tore through space, a silent scream of energy and radiation. The shockwave punched through the second ship's shields like a knife through cloth. The behemoth groaned and twisted, hull plates tearing, weapon banks erupting in chain reactions. They'd turned its own aggression into its death sentence. But it wasn't enough. It was wounded, furious, still alive. The second ship staggered, then recalibrated. It moved slower now, damaged, but its core weapon still charged. It was coming, rage-fueled, blinded by its failure, unwilling to accept a challenge it hadn't expected. Engines offline, Dev said. Weapon systems at 5%. We can't survive another exchange, Terra added. Ilera stood silent, staring at the enemy. Then she did something unexpected. She activated the comms array. Send it everything, she ordered. Terra blinked. What? Everything. The same data we gave the first ship. Our history, our madness, our brilliance. All of it. And this time, don't filter the rage. Terra hesitated, then complied. The stream began. Images of burning cities, defiant last stands, humanity's greatest sins and its greatest resistance. Nuclear blasts, rebellions, songs sung in war zones, hands reaching across divides. The image of a child sheltering a wounded dog in a ruined alley. And then, the moment of sacrifice. The image of the first alien ship shielding the Valkyrie. Looped, magnified, highlighted. A message. One of yours chose us. One of yours saw value in something you fear. The transmission ended. The second ship paused. A full 5 seconds passed. Then 10. It halted, not retreating, not attacking, just watching. A standoff in space, with no one sure what would come next. Then it turned. The massive vessel began to pivot away, slowly, deliberately, not in fear, not in defeat, but in acknowledgement. It had seen something it didn't understand, something it wasn't ready to destroy. Not yet, and maybe it didn't want to. The bridge of the Valkyrie erupted in disbelief. Dev slumped into a seat. Are we alive? Looks like it, Terra exhaled. The AI confirmed. Enemy vessel is retreating. No pursuit signals. Trajectory away from the system. Illyra didn't smile. Not this time. Her voice was quiet. That wasn't victory. That was survival. She looked out at the remains of the first ship. It tried to understand us. And for that, it paid with its life. But maybe it planted a seed. The crew didn't speak. They were too busy feeling it. That shift, that tremble in the void. Something had changed out there in the dark. They had not only survived an attack, they had made a point. Somewhere beyond the stars, a force once convinced of its own supremacy had been challenged. Not with might alone, but with will's sacrifice and defiance so raw it couldn't be calculated. The Valkyrie limped back into a stabilization orbit. Emergency systems patched themselves together. Lights flickered back to full power. In silence, the crew drifted back into their stations. Humanity had spoken, not in words, in resistance, in unpredictability, in choosing sacrifice over surrender, even when logic dictated otherwise. And the galaxy had listened, if only for a moment. Terra finally broke the silence. So what now? Illyra's voice was calm. Now, we go home. We tell them. And we prepare, because something out there is watching. And next time it won't send one ship. But now it knows, Dev added, standing beside her, knows what we are, what it costs to come for us. Illyra looked to the stars one last time before turning away. We don't run. We remember. And next time we're ready. And just like that, the Valkyrie, scarred, weary, defiant, set its course. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, not as prey, but as a warning.